cannot be soft when you're going to war. We've got a long way to go, right? But it's just day one. We'll get there.
All right, y'all. Welcome back and happy Thursday. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. Thank y'all for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about several things. I actually want to start it off right here with the NFL Combine because it does, like the on-the-field drills actually start today. And these are two players that we have going. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention in case you somehow missed it, but the Combine starts at 3. So Joshua Josephs, I have him listed as an edge. He's going to probably be listed as an outside linebacker with the NFL. So an outside linebacker, they play in coverage. Usually you see them inside like a 3-4 defense, but they're, main job is to, like rush the passer. So he has to show that over the course of this combine. Currently, he is projected to go anywhere from the 2nd to the 3rd round. But I think that there's a chance that he might be able to like really lock himself into the 2nd round with a good 40 time. And based off of all the numbers that we have, he's probably going to run somewhere around like a 4.65. So is he going to, I don't know, be able to break into the 4.5s? I think that it's possible because he's a really good athlete. He also has, it's like super long arms, for a guy that's 6'3", 240. And Mel Kiper, man, he's big into the long arms. So I know that Mel's probably going to be very high on him after all the measurements go through. But yeah, I think that he's going to look outstanding. Biggest thing for me, I think, is whenever he's doing like coverage drills, anything that mimics drop into depth or any of that, he needs to look really clean doing that. That'll also help out with his draft stock. And then we have Bryson Neeson, who's a defensive tackle, 6'3", 315. I think he might actually be now listed at 6'2", 315. Either way, he's got pretty long arms as well, but he has outstanding speed. He should be one of the fastest guys as far as defensive tackles go in the combine today. So 4.89, I could definitely see him doing that. If he can do it, and whether he does that or not, unless his time is just terrible, I don't think he's going to go as late as like 6th or 7th round. I have him going probably 4th or 5th. But if his time looks really good, if all of his measurables, metrics, so on and so forth, if that stuff looks great, then I could very easily see him maybe working himself up even more and more just because he's such a good athlete and super versatile. Watch out for the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, for either one of these teams because they fit their scheme very well. But at the same time, Kansas City loves picking up Tennessee players, which is why I typically root for them. Like unless they're playing against my Falcons or whatever, I typically do go for the Chiefs. It's because they always pick up, Tennessee players. But we have other guys, obviously, that will be going in the upcoming days. So on day 2, you got Jamal McCoy, who I don't think is going to participate. Not in this combine. What that tells me is maybe he's gotten really good feedback from NFL scouts, coaches, and GMs, and he's like, you know what? There's no need for me to go out here in this setting. If I'm not 100% ready, I could take more time and keep on training and get my numbers just outstanding. So maybe that's what he's doing, but I think that he's probably still a first-round lock. Unless he doesn't test at all, that would be interesting. Like, is he going to test with individual teams? If he does that, then yeah, maybe. But I think that he's going to be perfectly fine. Colton Hood should have a great day. I think that he will be going through all the drills. And, of course, I'm talking about day 2, which is tomorrow. And then Miles Kitterman, we'll see what he does. I wish him nothing but the best. Then on day 3, so Saturday, Chris Brazzell, who I think he was mocked. It might have been Mel Kiper. It was one of those guys. Just here recently said that he could maybe enter into the first round. Which, look, bro. You 6'5", 200 pounds. You've played a whole lot of football, played in different systems. This past season with Tennessee, it was a lot more pro-style elements. So he's run I would say, pretty full route tree. I think he's going to test somewhere in the 4.4 range, maybe even 4.3 range. Probably 4.3 something, right? Like 4.38, 4.39, something like that. So that's going to look great. It's tough to find players with that type of height, length. Catch radius is going to be crazy. He's another one with super long arms that can also move like that. Then we have Joey Aguilar, who I don't think is really going to do anything, but we'll see if that changes as we, get deeper into this process. But today, y'all, we are going to be talking about our new strength coach, Derek Owings, and some of the realistic expectations. I did a whole lot of research in how his players have changed from year to year. So we'll show you how that actually looks. And we'll also talk about secondary rankings, right? Where is Tennessee at? And this is just the secondaries that's on our schedule. But where's Tennessee at in that pecking order, and how do we stack up, so on and so forth. But as always, if y'all could, man, please make sure to like and subscribe because it helps us out in a major way. Also, thank you and huge shout out to all of our members on YouTube and on Patreon. We couldn't and wouldn't be doing this without y'all support. So let me tap into this chat real quick before we really dive into everything for today's stream. All right, so David is saying that LSU will have a very tough secondary, even with Mansour Delango and Pro. Yeah, I can tell you that. They most definitely do. They are a good-looking secondary. And David is also saying that he thinks that Texas and Texas A&M are tied for second as the hardest secondaries we play. Muhammad and McDonald for Texas will be considered top defensive backs. A&M got Ricky Gibson and Des Riggs, or Des Riggs, I think. Yep. True. And then this one saying that they reported that McCoy won't be. Yep. Yep. So saw that as well. So yeah, he won't be doing anything today. He should be doing something for our pro day, but we'll see how that plays out. But either way, what y'all are currently looking at are just some of my like wish list players and games that I wanted from Coach Derek Owings. It's a lot of young guys, right? But there are some transfer portal players. It's a couple of veterans, I think, sprinkled in here and there that's been with the team. But I can tell y'all at this point that some of these players are already halfway to like what my overall goal was, like heading into the actual season. So probably, kind of like heading into fall camp, right? So how this whole thing works is after the season ends, you start your workouts, maybe like a week or two. You might start, some teams might start like immediately, but either way, you typically will gain like in the early portions of that. Like we just heard Coach Derek Owens to kind of like start this off. He said you can't be soft when you're going to war. And then he also said that we have a long way to go, but this is just day one. So off of that day one clip, I don't know if that was right after warm-ups or if it was after the whole workout or what. But some of those players, you could tell that there was definitely gas. Like their sleeves all rolled up because they're trying to breathe. It's too much heat. So that's a positive thing. That's why Coach Heupel hired him. I think it's the biggest offseason move that he's ever made in his entire life. You know what I mean? Because the strength coach has such a strong imprint on the team from top to bottom. In some cases, it's actually stronger than the head coach. But most of the time, he's like right behind that head coach as far as obviously we already know, like bigger, stronger, faster, or more lean, stronger, faster. Some things as far as keeping guys from getting injured. But also it's like the mindset of the team. And what I've noticed since that day one clip is that our players, they kind of struggled with the workouts early on, but pretty quickly they started to, get acclimated to it. And man, like they were killing it. Like you could tell that they were just moving around with a lot more confidence. But at this point, all of our players look, most of them look really, really good. Like their necks are starting to widen out. Like whenever you see them squatting, guys are going lower now versus what we first saw. And then they also had those blocks to kind of start things off. If I'm not mistaken, it's a few players who started off with the blocks just doing squats, which that's so that you can go down low. If you're not very flexible, then you can't go down as low without those blocks. But I don't see the blocks now, and they're going all the way down. Like Pete said it, it's like hamstrings, the daggum, back of your ankles. So yes, whole lot more flexibility, whole lot more like deep strength. The freaking speed looks outstanding. I'm very proud of what I've seen. And one of the guys that I can tell, man, has really taken big steps forward is Quay Moss. And we will talk about secondary today. I said before that Quay is probably more of just a nickel because I think playing at star inside the box, I don't know if he can handle that. But now, bro, he's probably already gained that 10 pounds. I think that he could most definitely play in, at star and just, maybe fit into the starting rotation. But either way, let's move this thing forward. Let me show you how things actually break down with Coach Owings. And I did research dating back to 2018 with Texas Tech. So you've got the weight on the left-hand side. We'll talk about that in just a second. Then you've got their overall, athlete percentile versus the rest of the country, all right? Then you've got their speed in miles per hour. Again, this is just from year to year. So with the weights, I took those numbers from the team's websites, like the actual roster weights. These numbers won't blow you away because a lot of times those numbers are fudged. And we could point to GMAC, right? GMAC's listed at 195 last year. Over the course of the season, we heard people saying, well, he's been gaining weight, okay, so he should be over 195. And then just here recently, we heard that he gained 6 more pounds. So it looks like, and I actually read something that said, something about 215, whatever, 210, 215. So maybe I just misread it. Maybe I just misheard it. But either way, even after all that time when we're hearing, well, he's been gaining weight, he was listed at 195, that he's only at 198. So that's how this whole thing goes, right? Like it could be several players that on the roster were listed at maybe 20 pounds heavier than what they actually were. But over the course of the offseason, they actually gained that 20 pounds, and that number didn't really move in the following seasons, like metrics or on the roster. So hopefully all that does make sense. I think that you could add about, I'm going to call it, just add 5 pounds just to be safe to everything that you're seeing here with those weights. And this is the average for everybody. I could tell you personally, I've seen like there was a few players that gained, 10, 15, 20 pounds. So that can definitely happen. But biggest kind of like winner out of an offseason from Coach Owings is linebackers. Everything goes up in a major way. Weight, on average about 4 pounds. So if you're adding like 7 pounds to that, what is that? Like 11, you know what I mean? That's the average. Some of these guys over the course of the time that I'm looking at, of course, they had to lose some weight, but their overall athlete percentile goes up 18.5 points. That's crazy. Now, those metrics in the final 2 columns, that's about on-field stuff, right? So some of it, we'll talk about it more, but some of it, it could be, it could go down, or it might not truly indicate how good of athletes these players actually are. But speed and miles per hour, that typically you can pretty much tell what that is, right? Like some guys, if they play as like a freshman, which their sample size is going to be pretty small, but if they play as a freshman, then obviously sometimes they can't get to their max speed. So that could kind of skew the number some as well. But this is the best that we could do, right? I'm just trying to go through everything, just let you know it's not perfect. But it's just like a gauge. But yeah, linebackers adding like adding 2.5 miles per hour in an off season, that's a huge jump, dude. Like that's going from potentially like a 4.7 to like a 4.5. You know what I mean? Maybe even 4.4. So yeah, that is gigantic. And then quarterbacks, you're seeing that the weight doesn't look super substantial, but their overall like athlete percentile, that also goes up a lot. We've got some great athletes. As far as quarterbacks go, all of them I think are really good athletes. So they should look outstanding. Like hopefully they'll be able to make more and more plays. And then like their speed and miles per hour goes up more than anybody else's. So that's like ridiculous. But running backs, y'all can see that most of their stuff is going up, except for the overall like athlete thing. This is okay. So it is a problem if anything goes down. But I think that the reason for this, y'all, is just because, again, it's about on-field stuff. What I've noticed is with running backs that don't play out in space a whole lot, that number is not typically high anyway. So as the new staff is coming in and maybe changing some of the scheme, we all know that like Indiana and everywhere that they've ever been, the running backs aren't really used out in space. They're just running it right up the middle. It's a whole lot of smash mouth football. So I think that that's part of it. And then the tight ends, they're not very heavily utilized as far as the passing game goes with this coaching staff. So I think that that's part of the reason that theirs might drop down so much. It is kind of weird though, right? Like it definitely doesn't make me feel great, but I don't expect for anything to be going backwards for any of our players. Let me actually tap into this as well from Turkey Slammer before we move on, saying go Big Orange, and he got a new job. Okay, cool, man. Hey. Nah, bro. Listen, thank you for joining us, and I'm very happy for you, man. Getting a new gig, that's always a big deal. I hope that things are going well. Hopefully they treating you right. But what this is showing y'all is how our players would look, okay? So it's all these different spots. This is not counting the incoming freshmen for 2026, right? But just because like we can't pull their numbers from like college stuff. But all these other players, all right, everyone who played for us in 2025 and then some that will be back in 2026, and then all of our transfer portal players are added into this. And what this is showing you is with Coach Owings' kind of like strength gains, all the gains, how these rooms would end up looking. So number one, linebackers, they're up at the top, and I've got this kind of like organized based off of the overall like athlete grade. All right, so our linebackers are already outstanding athletes. I think that's probably the deepest room on this whole damn team. But now with Coach Owings giving them the bigger jump, one of my questions, y'all, is would we move away from more of a 4-2-5 to more of a 3-3-5? Because Coach Knowles would say he doesn't run a 3-3-5. It's all 4-2-5. He just moves the Leo around in different spots. He can call it whatever he wants. It's essentially 3-3-5. Do we want to maybe put more of our linebackers on the field since that's the deepest part of our entire defense? And I don't know how deep the defensive line is actually going to be. Like, I don't know how good they're going to be, especially to start the season off. I could definitely see that happening. But we're talking about a room that averages 232 pounds, running about 19.5 miles per hour on average. That's insane numbers. So 19 miles per hour is about like 4.6 ish, maybe 4.5. It's based on how quick do you start, so on and so forth. But just to give y'all like a gauge, that's big dudes, prototype size, who can move, and they're going to be much better at athletes. Like I'm looking at Power T, you know what I'm saying? Dog in that most recent clip, bro, like he looks really good. He looks like he's actually on steroids or something. I'm not saying that he is, but he's definitely jacked and his hips are fluid. He's moving like dog. This team, those linebackers especially, are going to be a problem. But if you just go down this whole list, it's all prototype size. Everything, everybody, prototype size, great speed. It's just pretty much all prototype numbers, prototype metrics. And whenever you talk about throwing the young guys in, my anticipation is that they will experience the most growth. It's their first year inside of a college weight room, man. And they got all the resources to eat as much as they want. And they got all the supplements that they could, ever take, whatever. They got all the scientific stuff that goes into it to help them on like an individual basis. I think that they should be, maybe on par. Like they should look really good versus what they come in at. So, and I've seen that too. Like Braden Rouse, he's a guy sticking with the linebackers, bro. He looks like he's already what he came in at 215 or something is what he was listed at. It's something like that. He's probably already over 220, maybe 225. So yeah, I think that we're going to be in great shape, not just with the defense, but with the whole team because of Derek Owings and his entire staff just doing a brilliant job. All right, so let me tap back in. I see the Tay is coming in. So he's saying he's curious to see how Idris responds to Derek Owings' training. Yeah, me too. He was already trying to. Yeah, man, I think that he's going to be perfectly fine. Like he's a guy that I could see taking several strides. I was already high on him because he's a guy that's fearless. You know what I'm saying? He ain't scared of the contact. Does need to work on fundamentals. And the new safeties coach, he's talked a whole lot about that. Like, man, look, we guys have to tackle, so I feel like that's going to be a very strong point of emphasis. But also with Derek Owings, the way that he's training, like there's several things that I don't want to break down too much. I'm trying to say that for when my brother comes back because he knows it better than I do. But he's talked about seeing our players doing like a lot more running and then stopping, right? Like you run, then you stop. He said that it's going to help us to be better playing out in space. Like sometimes we see our players on defense overrunning things, right? Or maybe sometimes they're too slow getting there. The strength coach is going to help out with all those things. And then he also said that it'll help with like knee injuries. He said that typically whenever you tear something, it's because you couldn't stop right. Like you're running and you was not able to stop. So your knee pretty much gave out and that's how those tears happen. So yeah, there's just like a lot of things on a scientific level that I feel like will help this team out in a major way. But let's move forward, man. Let's talk about the rankings for the secondaries on our schedule. I almost said on our roster, but number one is LSU. Dude, they are super freaking deep. You can see all the averages for everybody. Again, it's not the incoming freshmen, so just take that out. But yeah, I think they did an outstanding job. Alabama, a whole lot of length. I think that their secondary was good last season. Several of those players coming back. Texas has been up here every time. So last time, we did the offensive line, or is that right? Yeah, last time we did the offensive line rankings, Texas was at the top. They're going to be probably top 5 in everything that we look at. That's going to be a very tough game. Georgia Tech also, they were top 5 with the offensive line. I think that Tennessee was right on top of them. Now they're on top of Tennessee. Don't sleep on that game, man. I'm trying to tell you. Georgia Tech is probably going to be a serious problem, not just for us, but for everybody. Just like as I'm going through doing more and more research, and it's all just on paper, you got to see how these guys actually do, you know what I'm saying, in live situations. Man, I feel like they have a shot to maybe win the ACC, which I don't know when the last time is that they did that. But then Tennessee, we're sitting at number 5. And y'all can also see like the best player, all that. Like this isn't something that I put on there. This is something that was kind of like generated, like we put it into a system and it just generates based off of the numbers, who the best players are, kind of like the archetype of the secondary is, so on and so forth. Vandy is under us. So they've got a whole lot of veterans in their secondary. That's going to definitely help them. Then you've got South Carolina. They're probably going to end up being better than that because they always have studs. Arkansas is going to be a better team than people think because their offensive line was, I think, at number, was it 2 with our rankings? So they're going to be pretty good. At least they should be. Texas A&M, they're actually pretty low on this, which I was shocked about it as well. I think that they'll probably end up being better than that. Auburn, I'm not shocked that they're down so low. Kentucky, they're at the very bottom just as far as our schedule goes. So, yeah, that's pretty much how things play out. I think that it's very accurate. Now, let's take a look at us versus the best team on our schedule as far as secondary goes, LSU. And this is who I think the starters will be for both of these teams. And I'm going to start off with LSU because they have two guys playing at safety that I was huge on, okay? Very, very big on A.J. Halsley. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, but I think he came from Houston. Dude, 6 feet tall, 222 pounds. Y'all can see the rest of his numbers. Hopefully you can see it. If you can, you can probably zoom in on it. But dude, he's a freaking stud. Then you've got Ty freaking Benefield, who I think is almost like a generational type of talented safety. I have absolutely, positively no idea why it feels like we didn't even target him. It feels like not too many people were targeting him, but if you actually watch this film, my goodness. I mean, he's big, he's fast, he's physical, he's all over the field. And the only reason that like his missed tackle rate is so high is just because obviously you see how many snaps he had. He's been playing ball for a long time, but it's because he's in places that he really shouldn't be, right? Like he's all over the freaking field. And because he's getting there kind of late, and he's, getting his hands on folks, it counts as a missed tackle. And I'm not going to say he's perfect with the tackling. Nobody is, but he's actually a lot better than that would indicate. He's got skills that his coverage could be even better if you coach him up. This will probably be the best secondary in the entire country. I have trouble believing that there's anything that's going to be better than what we're looking at from LSU, unless it's our Tennessee Volunteers, because I think that the numbers don't quite do us justice. We have guys that are, haven't played a whole lot of ball. Like we could talk about Lane down at the very, very bottom. And these numbers come from PFF. He's only listed at 206 here, but he actually played at 212. So he's probably going to play this season at about 220. So looking a lot like AJ for LSU. But I think that he's obviously faster. I think he's only going to continue to get even faster. And he might be Tennessee's star unless it's Quay Moss, who I could also now see playing at a true star, which gives us a ton of versatility. Quay Moss is a dog, okay? Like, he really is. He's fearless. I think his coverage looks great, especially in that slot area. So maybe you keep Lane as in, like, off-ball safety. Same thing with TJ. I love TJ. He's a big, thick, physical guy, and he absolutely gets it. Like, whenever I'm listening to these players talk, I'm, hey, okay, what are you talking about? Like, what do you care about? What makes you tick? For him, he's a real dude. He's a real dog. So, and I think that he's from the South too. But either way, I feel perfectly fine with kind of like the back end of Tennessee's defense. Now, talking about our corners, obviously Tyler Redmond is a freaking stud. As a true freshman, what he did, earning all SEC honors, right? That is gigantic. And then I also think that Kane Lee, very similar to Ricky Gibson. And I feel like he's going to end up gaining weight. He's another Georgia boy. So is Quay. I do feel like Georgia boys just get it on a little bit of a higher level, but it doesn't really matter, man. Like, if you could play ball, you could just play ball. I think that we have a secondary full of dogs, and it should be a lot stronger than it's been. I think it's going to be stronger than it was last year. 2024, that was a good season. I love what our safeties did. I'm not trying to take a shot at those guys. Love, especially Brooks. Brooks stepped up in a major way. But I do think that this is a lot more talented of a room. Lane's already played inside of this system. TJ's played in like match zone system, so he's going to be able to pick it up pretty quickly. I just think that safety play takes a huge step forward, and I feel perfectly fine with how Tennessee's going to end up faring. And just like as far as LSU secondary, it's one thing to have a good secondary, but it doesn't mean too much if you don't have a good front to go with it. Like, I almost want to say that LSU is like it's like the Seahawks old secondary. And I can't even think, like, when they had Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, the big tall cornerback, all that, obviously looking at DJ Pickett at 6'5", that's crazy. But I almost want to say that they could be like them, but I don't know how's their pass rush going to look. It's probably going to be really good, but we got to break those numbers down as well. So either way, man, that's pretty much it from me. I just wanted to let y'all see all these things and see what y'all had to say about it. If y'all have any thoughts, then y'all can definitely chime in, and we will get to those. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Biggest thing for me, biggest kind of like takeaway is that I had the most confidence in our team maybe heading into this season because of our strength coach, because it was such a problem in 2024. Like, guys it just was not nearly enough, dog. We were getting pushed around, especially up front. So we don't have the metrics to show you how people's strength changed and all of that, but I'm sure that it was substantial. because it's no way that Derek Owings goes into takes over a daggum team as the strength coach. That was horrific before he got there. And then in 2 short seasons, they're the best team in the whole country. If he could do that there, he could definitely do it here because we have significantly more talent than, what they were working with. So I'm looking forward to that. And, I just think as long as we can block people, as far as the offense goes, we'll be able to find some things open down the field. We do a great job of scheming that up. Some of the more tougher games that we're actually playing at home. So like LSU, we just talked about them. We're playing at the crib, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. So this right here is from my dog, J Pat. What's going on, bro? He's saying GBO, FUGA, you already know, bro. Working still. Yeah, man, I'm happy that you was able to chime in too. And also, y'all, I've been super busy, doing a whole lot of extra working and just trying to get it all squared away just because it's been so crazy for my family here. So I know we haven't been posting as consistently as we typically do and all that type of stuff, but we will keep y'all up to date as best as we can. We do still have the Patreon open for membership. Okay. Patreon.com/Bluechip Breakdown. And then we also obviously have the memberships here on YouTube. Just click on the join button just below this video and y'all can join us as members. Again, shout out to our members. And last thing that I'm going to plug for y'all real quick is the Patreon, patreon.com/SCC all 22 film. There is still a 7-day free trial if you want to see Tennessee in all 22 form, and also other SEC games, playoff games, the national championship. There's next level stats, so on and so forth about all of our players. You cannot find this type of information really anywhere. Like the all 22, that's hard enough for you to find, but that type of those types of stats is also extremely, probably even harder for you to find. So this is a great time for y'all to get that 7-day free trial in. But either way, y'all, we might come back later on today if there's some more news. Definitely will be covering this combine very closely, and I'm hoping and praying that everyone does well and everyone can stay healthy. But that's it for me. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because it does help us out in a very major way. And we'll be talking to y'all probably tomorrow. Thanks. Peace.